What's going on, everybody? Full Press NHL Podcast. It's a blast from the past. It's a reunion of sorts. Jim Biringer, Mike Straw here for you. Here on the Full Press NHL Podcast, weekly show as we do it. Back and better than ever. Mike, it's been too long, man.
It's been a while. It's been like
long
a year.
Long time, baby. Long time. We got to do this more often. We have to do this more often.
Without a doubt, but we finally have the perfect topic to get back on the train here.
It's your favorite topic. The Seattle Kraken, Ron Francis. They fired another head coach, which we'll get to. We already knew Dave Haxtell was gone last year. Dan Bosman gets axed after 1 year. And he's got 2 years left on his deal. Ron Francis, oh, by the way, if you didn't hear, he's team president. Former Buffalo Sabres general manager, current assistant general manager in Seattle, Jason Botterill, is now the general manager in Seattle. And there is a lot to get into because you texted me, you're like, when are we doing something? I want to talk about Seattle Kraken. Mike, the floor is yours.
Oh, my God. I don't even know where to begin. So, for anybody longtime Full Press listener knows, since Seattle brought on Ron Francis, my disdain for how he runs a franchise. Now, I'm not the Carolina Hurricanes fan, but you don't need to be to understand how bad he's been. Then he goes to Seattle and butchers that expansion draft. Tinfoil hat, maybe the NHL wanted Vegas to be better off the bat than Seattle. I don't know. I'm not buying into it, but people are saying it now that because it's funny to talk about. But with how you look at what Vegas did with their expansion draft and how bad Seattle botched their expansion draft, Seattle had the chance to have players who were playing at the top of their game in a Tarasenko, in a Jeff Skinner, and they passed. Granted, hindsight might have been, but you don't know. But at the time, you're just wondering, what are they doing? Then Ron Francis goes out, brings in Haxtell. From day one.
That's strike two.
We knew that was going to be an absolute mess after Philly. Then they go and give out these dumb contracts. It's like I'm watching Buffalo of the West right now. They give out these contracts for players that don't deserve it. This past offseason, the Montour contract, yeah, okay. That one I can kind of forgive. The Chandler Stevenson contract. Like, that's Ville Leno level bad. Okay? That is David Clarkson level bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd say Nathan Horton level bad, but Horton got derailed by injuries. He just wasn't.
And he won a cup. Cup. To be fair, he did win a cup. And look,
Horton wasn't bad.
No, he wasn't. And let's be fair to Dave Haxtell, too, right? Like, I know we both have our criticisms of Dave Haxtell. But I think he got the short end of the stick last year when it came to this overhaul, because I'm going to be honest, like, I think that, you know what, the expectations on this team, yes, they went to the second round, Game 7 of the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Everything seemed to were going in their way. This falls more on the general manager, because how do you not offer Morgan Geekie and Daniel Sprong, two key components of that team that year? Like, I think Dave Haxtell was put beyond the 8 ball. I'm not saying he's the greatest coach in the world. He's the next coming of Scotty Bowman. But I think Dave Haxtell got a raw deal in Seattle last year, because it's clearly we're seeing that Dan Bilesma did everything he could. And from the people I've spoken with, even early in the season, no one projected Seattle to be a playoff team this year.
No, not a one.
So I just think this is more roster construction and roster management. And don't get me wrong, look at the guys that they picked up. Eli Tolvanen, Capo Caco in trades. Like, they've got some good players there. Shane Wright's taking the next step. And oh, by the way, Shane Wright's taking the next step under the guy who was the AHL coach, Dan Bilesma, when he was there, went to the Calder Cup final, and had his best season as a pro this year. What are we doing?
I'm not going to go as far as say Haxtell got the short end of the stick, because I guarantee you could give Haxtell a roster made up of Crosby, Matthews, Marner, Ovechkin, McDavid, Draisaitl, and bring back prime Patrick Waugh, and he'd find a way to screw it up.
That's true.
I don't Hackstall, college, great. Pro, GTFO, like leave, never return.
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
bad I despise him as a coach. You'd think he like went after my family with how much I don't like it.
I mean, this guy, you just don't like him. Like, straight up, just doesn't like him.
But the Ron Francis thing, yeah. I had written at a site I had written for a few months last year that this was going to be Francis's last year as GM of this team. The Stevenson signing to me reeked of we're desperate to hit. This needs to hit. We knew it. No one in the right mind thought it was going to.
No.
It didn't. We needed Matty Beniers to take a step. Like, I'll give him credit that Capo Caco, bringing him aboard, seemed to light a fire under him.
Right.
Which, good for him. Caco, I've always loved his game. I just felt it wasn't. We've talked about.
Yeah, we've talked about that ad nauseum.
Players and situations, and it wasn't the right fit in New York.
No.
I hope he finds and he sticks in Seattle, no matter who the coach is. I don't know, just something about that, or he finds a system similar to what Bylsma was running. That being said, yeah, this is a lot on Francis's ability to build a roster. Bylsma, we saw in Buffalo, didn't really work out. Given 2 years, didn't really work out. Seattle, yeah, he takes Coachella. My God, yeah, a team no one expected to make that run.
Right.
And the only reason they didn't win is because Hershey has been unbelievable the last half decade.
Domination. They're dominant in the AHL now.
No one was hitting. No one was stopping Hershey.
No.
So it was like you getting to the Calder Cup final was the championship in my mind out west. And then you're like, all right, bring them in. And then 1 year. And then not only that, Francis, I don't know who made the decision to fire Bylsma. Maybe it was an agreement. If Francis moves on, it'll be a new coach, a fresh start, so to speak. But how you can get rid of Bylsma and not Francis is absurd to me. But you do the thing that a lot of people are kind of thinking will happen here in Buffalo. You promote, quote unquote, Francis, who has butchered your organization. Maybe because they just don't want to pay him to go away. Kind of what it feels like, a situation of we owe him too much money on his contract. We'd rather hear, and he's just here as a face, and he doesn't really have to say. But then you bring in assistant GM, you bring in Jason Botterill, who, my God, Tim Murray, for all this shit, pardon my language.
That's okay.
That people gave Tim Murray for the job he did in Buffalo. Tim Murray tried. He went for the home run all the time. Because he was under the impression what every GM should be. And even the New York Giants, Jim Schoen, like, let's switch sports. His kid knew you only get this job once, so make it count.
Right.
There's a chance you only get one chance to do this. And Tim Murray went home run after home run. Jason Botterill went mistake after mistake. And now he is going to be the one to turn things around in Seattle. After in Buffalo, he came in for Tim Murray. His first 2 seasons as GM and being in charge of this organization was to, one of them, hire Ralph Kruger.
Oh.
But those first 2 seasons, they finished point totals below. Like, they fell every year. And then his 3rd season, he failed to field a team that made a 24-team playoff field because of COVID, right? Buffalo, he couldn't even build a team to be in the top 24. And they think Botterill's going to be the one to turn this around?
No.
I feel bad for whoever coaches this team.
Me too, because there's talented players on this team. There's really talented players. But you go back to the expansion draft. Like, who thought it was a good idea to pick up Philip Grubauer and give him that contract, right? Like, that's just a bad decision.
Ron Francis.
And look, don't get me wrong. What he got back for Yanni Gordon, Oliver Bjorkstrand at the trade deadline, you got Michael Asimont back. That's a good player. Like I said, there's talented players on this team. But Andre Burakovsky's been in and out of the lineup. And by the way, you're not the only one that wrote about it. I had guys from Seattle on the show. We talked about it. The question I asked was, is there pressure on Ron Francis? Is it his last year? FYI, he got 4 years of a 5-year contract in Carolina and didn't see the end of it, and didn't get promoted within the team. And they want him to see this vision through, the long-term vision. That's what was in the press release today from Seattle. I'm sorry, but this team, like, there's good players on this team, and they can draft and develop all they want. They got to get the right coach. And oh, by the way, you didn't even mention the trades that Jason Botterill made, that some of those players are not there anymore, that won Stanley Cups other places. It's like unbelievable what they did in Buffalo. And it's Seattle is going down that track of the Buffalo Sabres. And look, maybe playoff success in Vegas and all this stuff, no one was going to repeat what the Vegas Golden Knights did. GMs were wiser in that expansion draft. But like you said, all the talent in the world that was out there at that time, and they didn't pick those guys.
Like, I don't get it. Like, you look back, right? One of the players they took was from Colorado. They took Jonas Donskoy.
Yeah.
Nothing against him. Why? Like,
there was so many other players out there.
They took Chris Dreiger from like Frank Vetrano. A guy like Frank Vetrano was available. They could have had a guy like granted, this is tough to say because we saw what he ended up becoming, but I would have taken, from Minnesota at the time was a Kaapo Kähkönen. Like, I feel like he would have been a better pick for your goaltending. Scott Wedgwood could have been a better pick for your goaltending. Like, certain picks they made were fine. Like Jordan Eberle, Adam Larson.
Vince Dunn. No, yeah. They signed Larson in free agency. But Vince Dunn was their pick. Yeah. But the Vince Dunn pick was that was a good pick from St. Louis. Like, that's a great pick. Like, I agree with that. That's a solid play.
I didn't even hate the, Jared McCann pick or
that's a great pick.
The Jamie Alexiak. Like, I know a lot of people don't like him. But
he's a great defenseman.
Yeah.
He's a great defenseman on that team. Like, that's a really good pick.
The Giordano pick made sense because you get that, like, you just get that leader. That I know everybody like poo-poos on like the value of leadership, but we're seeing it with the Buffalo Sabres time and time again. They just don't have the league every single year.
They don't have it.
Missing. Like, and we thought something was there a couple years ago with Seattle, but I think people like you and me and Chris and so many others saw what it truly was. They got really hot goaltending.
Grubauer stood on his head in the playoffs. They beat a very good Colorado team because Colorado's goaltending was not very good. Georgiev just went in the bed, and actually Jonas Donskoy was actually a player for them in that series and in that playoff run. But again, to me, you go back to it. Morgan Geekie's a 30-goal scorer with the Boston Bruins. Think about that for a minute. And you didn't qualify that guy.
And in a way, I kind of got. Because, I mean, he averaged 25 points, his 2-year average in Seattle. So I kind of got it. But not qualifying him guarantees he leaves for nothing.
Right.
And that's where I don't get. So maybe not qualifying him super high or offering him a big deal, because was it a case of he got 30 goals this year with Boston, but he got 30 goals on a bad Boston team. But he also played in the top six. Yeah, and someone had to score those goals.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. That's a fair point by you. I mean, look at it, though. Seattle's on that hamster wheel, right? Like, we talk about NFL, we talk about, like, Browns, Jags, like, even with the Sabres in NHL, right? We talk about that hamster wheel. Like, you eventually have to get off that hamster wheel, because we're seeing other teams like San Jose. I know they're a couple years away, but they're a better team right now. Like, their young talent is coming along. They've got good picks. Anaheim, despite what Pat Verbeek is doing, which I don't know even if he knows what he's doing, or he does, and I just don't know what it is. And maybe it's like a wrestling thing where it's, some storyline that is going to pay off like 5 years down the road that I didn't see coming. But, I mean, like, he fired Greg Cronin. team takes a 21-point jump. They win in spite of the coach, but we need a new vision, and we expect to make the playoffs next year. Yeah, but Calgary's better. Edmonton's still there. LA, Vegas, yeah. You have the other division as well. Like, where are you making that playoff push, man?
They're not. And you brought up Anaheim, and that's a whole other thing too. I kind of, though there's a coach out there, right? And I don't mean to switch too much, but there's a coach
go
out
ahead.
there that I really think if they make this move will make sense, and I think it'll work. And do you want that name? Let's see if you can guess that name real quick.
I mean, I don't know. Does he coach college?
No, it's not him.
Ooh.
He is an assistant coach of a current playoff team.
Assistant coach of a current playoff team. East or West?
West.
Ooh. I don't know. Give me the name.
Marco Sturm.
Great choice, because he probably should have been the coach in San Jose.
Yes, 1,000%. I think San Jose will be fine, but I think Sturm, I know first time NHL head coach, but this is a guy who, whether people want to admit it or not, and assistant coaches in the NHL level don't have, say, as much power as other sports. But players have you've heard it in interviews in the past, players gravitate to him. And I think Sturm in an environment like Anaheim could be just what that team needs for a really young, up-and-coming group, to where Anaheim showed signs this year.
Yes, they did.
They showed a lot of signs. I still think they should trade Gibson and get something for him, and their goaltending will be fine. I honestly think Sturm could be that guy as a first-time coach to come in. If not, maybe, like, I don't want to wish him on Seattle, because I don't want him to fail in his first, and no
I know, right?
In Seattle right now. But, like, I don't know. Everybody's pointing to other names like Cal, and people have brought up Gerard Gallant. And my thought on the former should have been coach of the year.
Yes. Who got it right in New York about the talent on that team, and they just don't work hard. Yes, he should have won coach of the year. I agree. But I like Marco Sturm because I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and you may be able to. I believe he was the coach of Germany that played in the gold medal game in the Olympics and lost to the Soviet Union or Russia or United Federation of Russia Athletes.
Yeah, whatever they're calling them.
They're calling them now. And they had the lead and they were in that game. So, he is an excellent coach, showing he can get it done on the big stage. I think that's an excellent fit for the Anaheim Ducks. I really do, because the nucleus is there. But again, he's got questions with Jacob Trouba. He's going to be a free agent. You have a couple other guys that you have to deal with. Is Zegras actually a Verbeek guy? Like, what is the direction of this team? And you take a 21-point leap in the standings, and you get rid of Greg Cronin, which is fine. If the players said we don't want to play for this guy, that's fine, all well and good. Now you got to bring in somebody that can maintain the same success or make it better so you can meet those expectations, because I'm going to be honest, the Pacific Division is tough. There's about 4 teams in front of you, and like I said before, the Central still has some really good teams as well. So you're battling a lot of good teams, especially Utah.
Utah's not going away.
They're not going away, so it's going to be hard to make the playoffs out west. But I know they're going to be aggressive. I kind
of have a feeling that coaching change was done to do something about Zegras.
Yeah, I think so. I think they decided that we have to keep Zegras. We can't trade him, even though we tried to trade him at the draft last year to Montreal. Didn't get it done. I think it's better to have the devil you know than the devil you don't know in this case, because I think we know what Trevor Zegras can be when he's healthy. And the way that team is coming together, I think if he gets the right coach that buys in and just lets him play, it's going to be fine. And I think, sometimes these contract negotiations, they're hard and everything. Maybe he isn't really a Pat Verbeek guy, but you know what? You need a guy like that that's going to win, because you have to get a player in return. And if you're not going to win that type of trade unless you get assets back. And if you really expect to make the playoffs next year, Trevor Zegras has to be on your team.
Yeah. And I kind of think Trouba does too.
Yeah.
Will he?
Well, he's got a year
don't
left
know.
on his deal, so.
But that's where I think in my mind, that's when a team will try and trade him.
Yeah.
Because they're going to obviously have that talk of, are you open to staying? Because if you're not, they're going to have to deal him.
Yeah.
They can't let him walk for nothing. And I don't think he'll be valuable. There's a lot of players that are like, well, let's see how valuable they are at the deadline. I think Trouba is one of those players that's more valuable preseason trade than a deadline acquisition trade. Because usually deadline acquisition, you're looking for goaltending help or you're looking for scoring help. Very rarely is a team looking for a shutdown defensive help.
But if you do, you're trading nothing to get that guy too. Yeah. Or it's like a 3-team trade and a lot of assets are moving, and those are very, very complicated to make at the deadline. Anaheim's a team that's out there in flux. Detroit, like I'm going to throw two teams at you right here. Detroit and Vancouver. You have issues in Detroit with Steve Yzerman, Dylan Larkin, very outspoken about how his general manager didn't do much at the deadline. I know Yzerman's definitely on the hot seat entering this season because the Detroit Red Wings need to make the playoffs considering what the Montreal Canadiens have done in the East. And the Vancouver Canucks are in disarray. It's a disaster. It's like the New York Rangers, and we can lump them into this group of teams too. Because it seems when turmoil follows you, you don't make the playoffs. When turmoil follows you, you have coaching change. You have players that are probably going to leave. And in the case of Vancouver, Elias Pettersson seems to be out there. We know Brock Besser isn't staying. Well, if those guys ain't staying, Quinn Hughes apparently is not going to stay. He wants to play with his brothers. The good luck bringing them to Vancouver.
I know, what a stupid comment he made.
Yeah. Like,
hello, tampering. Like, the league should be calling.
Right. But still, Quinn Hughes is a free agent, and he's probably going to go to New Jersey. So, hello. And then on the Rangers side, Chris Drury fires Peter Laviolette. Fine, okay, whatever. And we all knew it was coming. But the team didn't play well. The players were as a mutiny against the general manager, who, by the way, found a way to become the general manager because of outside influences and has taken a roster that Jeff Gorton built and completely dismantled it and in disarray, and they need locker room leaders too.
My favorite thing on the Rangers. Granted, I have not a lot of resentment towards Drury, but enough for, the worst day in Sabres fan history.
Yeah, when he left.
Granted, because we knew he was gone. Even as a 17-year-old, I knew he did not want to stay. He wanted to end his career with the Rangers. That was a given. And then they did Danny Briere dirty. So I'm still more bitter at the Sabres than anything because, they literally ghosted Briere, who wanted to stay.
Yeah.
But seeing what Drury has done to the Rangers is hilarious, knowing they would likely be in the playoffs right now with a dominant, healthy Jack Eichel. Had Drury not gone and said, no, Capo Caco is untouchable. What?
Yeah.
What? Of all players on that roster, Caco
was untouchable.
For Eichel. Eichel, for all the way he kind of forced his way out, granted the fighting with the team, whatever. He's worth a Capo Caco and a couple picks, and another play. He is. I think Vegas will sit there and go, yeah.
Yeah. We'll
thanks. We'll take that.
And not only that, I mean, there was a lot of rumors at the deadline about JJ Peterka potentially going to New York, and a big name that was out there. I mean, the one name that had to go the other way was Alexis Lafreniere, and apparently they weren't going to move him up to Buffalo.
There was a mix of that, but also the Sabres are adamant on keeping Peterka as a core.
Yeah, well, they need to keep guys that got to play there. Somebody's got to be on this team. Everybody just can't leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And the worst part about what Drury's done with the roster is that he's brought in less caliber talent to fill out this roster. The players that he brought back in some of these trades are not very good.
The JT Miller trade still I don't get. I don't Chris Kreider. That's just a crutch they're kind of stuck with.
You can put him on LTIR, and they should have this past year, considering he's played with a back injury the whole season.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens because he's got 2 years left.
Yeah, I think he's done. I think he's done in New York. I think somebody's going to find a way.
Lafreniere, his contract kicks in next year.
But he's got no trade move. His trade protection doesn't kick in until year 3.
Yeah. So he's kind of like, I don't know what they're going to do, but this is a team they signed. It's also funny they gave Shesterkin that contract, and then immediately Shesterkin rewarded him by playing the worst hockey he's ever played as a pro.
Yeah. Now, granted, he was still on the $5.5 million deal, so let's see what he does at 11.5.
But I don't know. I don't think I would have given him, that contract. I don't know what the Rangers are doing. Like, I feel like we're back into that early 2000s Rangers.
Yeah. Let's just bring in everybody.
Yager
Let's just bring in everybody. Let's just bring in everybody and figure out
Wayne Gretzky
how
would
we're
work out for us, right, in his final season. That's going to pay off. Like, that's kind of the Rangers era I think we're in, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to put my fandom aside a minute here, but they brought this on themselves, and they're trying to hot shot. They're trying to hot shot to win a title instead of being patient. And like they were on the right track again. The bubble doesn't help making that playoff, and I think Dolan was like, "Oh, well, we made the playoff." Realistically, they're not making the playoffs, and they're probably not making the playoffs the following year as they didn't. And the fact of the matter is it's like, okay, well, they do that, and then you get to the Eastern Conference Final, lose to Tampa, and then you lose to New Jersey, who's a quicker, faster team than you. Gerard Gallant comes out, says what he says. It's not about that talent. It's about the work ethic and how you play and playing with heart. He's fired because he doesn't get along with Drury. Great. They bring in Peter Laviolette. They get the first-year Laviolette bump. And then it just goes completely in the tank. And
which is normal for a team.
But the players themselves didn't take responsibility for acting like jerks and children after a 12-5-1 start when the memo comes out and completely tanked their season after that.
Yeah. And then you look at it, speaking of players, like, this is an organization that Mika Zibanejad was great for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right? But he has seen his production drop over the last since 2022 by 30 points. He had 91 points in 2023, 2022-23. Last season, 23-24, 72, so the 19-point drop, and then another 10-point drop. He's reliable. He's always available. He's missed 2 games in the last 4 years. Great. Awesome. But his play has fallen. Then you have this question mark about what the hell they're going to do about Panarin, who's entering the last year of his contract, and everything that came out on the last day of the season.
That he didn't want to speak about.
That, exactly. Didn't want to speak about. They tried to cover up the whole time. Would never have come out if it wasn't for great journalistic work. What's going to happen there? If I'm there, he's not around.
No, 100%.
But I'm not there, and I have morals and ethics. What's going to happen? This is
James Dolan. Well,
James Dolan's about to hire Joel Quenneville, and they can be partners.
Apparently, they're not going to do that, but who knows?
That's what they say. But if the hullabaloo kind of dies down, they'd be the team. Them would the Rangers. A couple others might be the team to bring in a Quenneville and give him that redemption arc, which he doesn't deserve. Let's be honest, at all.
And Stan Bowman, look what he's doing in Edmonton. I mean, well, first of all, that's just Jeff Jackson not hiring a general manager before July 1st and completely flipping that team around. That went to the Stanley Cup final. That was the Achilles heel.
Still not getting goaltending or defense.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. I mean, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think eventually it's definitely going to happen. Whether I agree with it or not is a different story. But I think it's probably going to happen. Joel Quenneville gets his redemption arc. And, that's what it is. However, like, if we look at it, the New York Rangers brought this mess on themselves. A lot of teams have done this. Detroit, the same thing. Like, draft, develop, not getting the right roster. Again, it's a lot of it's roster construction. That's why I don't understand why Chris Drury's allowed to stay. You're seeing what's going on the island. Lou Lamoriello is out because the Islanders are just like, all right, look, we did it your way. You brought us success. We went back to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Granted, they were shortened seasons, but you did it. But you still haven't improved this team. We're still older. We're still doing the same things. And we don't have goal scoring. And it seems like our head coach right now is at odds with you because he's making comments about how the roster was built. So they were just like, you know what? We're done. We're eliminated. Lou, nice knowing you. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, I'm sitting there still thinking too, like the Todd McClellan going to Detroit. Quick. I know we're bouncing around, but they were the other team.
Yeah, they were on part of this. Yeah.
Is it a case of Yzerman got too much credit for the talent that was already in Detroit or in Tampa, and now they had to build from scratch, like entirely? He's not good enough. Or, and two, I'm still surprised they brought in a Todd McClellan. I don't know if that was the right fit for that, because part of me thought when they made the change at coach that they were going to just have an interim for the year, and then Jeff Halpern would have been the guy.
Well, he seems to be up for the Ranger job right now.
Yeah, but I'm thinking Halpern got hired in Tampa when Yzerman was in Tampa.
Yep.
Like he started with Syracuse, then he moved on just the year before Yzerman left. He was brought on to be an assistant with the Lightning. I feel like that would have been a fit because they know each other, or maybe Halpern just wouldn't want to work with Yzerman. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know what Yzerman can do. It's clear that there's dissension in the ranks. He's in year 3 of that contract he signed, but yeah, it seemed like Dylan Larkin just doesn't want to be there anymore. But I am all for players voicing publicly to hold management over the coals. Like, they deserve it.
Yeah, 100%.
But it also goes both ways.
Yeah.
What Gerard Gallant did, I thought was warranted too.
Yes.
You need to have that, I can say this. It doesn't need to be behind closed doors, because clearly saying it behind closed doors doesn't get through. Publicly doing it and feeling that public pressure could do it a lot better.
Similar situation when we saw in Winnipeg, Rick Bowness, Blake Wheeler, like that fiasco. Once Blake Wheeler's out the door, Adam Lowry captain, Cheval day off, gets the message to the big boys who say, hey, we don't want to be here if there's going to be a rebuild, all this stuff. 8-year contracts for Scheifele, Hellebuck, Connor's probably going to get a new deal. Like, got to get that exorcism in certain places right now, get a message sent. And I agree with you. Like, if you look at Detroit, like, I think Steve Yzerman did a great job in Tampa. He did draft and develop good players, but it's also about your scouting staff and who you have on your scouting staff. And maybe Detroit just needs to, and this isn't 1999 and 2000 and 2002 and early 2000s Detroit, where you have all these Hall of Famers on your roster and the kids have to be stuck in the AHL. They have talent in the AHL that needs to play. When Marco Kasper got in the lineup, he showed what he can do. Like, those guys now have to take the next step. You have Mo Sider, you have Evanson, you have all these guys up there, Lucas Raymond. Like, Yzerman needs to get things right in Detroit, or he will not have a job at the end of next season.
And we saw getting things right and getting out the people that they feel need to get gone. We saw that in Buffalo this past trade deadline. Dylan Cousins looked like a lost soul, and they got rid of him. They didn't care about the contract. There's another player they need to do that too, and his name is Matthias Samuelsson.
Yeah.
He needs to be shown the door too. But they did that there. The players understandably upset about it because he's one of their guys, but they got it. It seemed like that trade kind of clicked with the Sabres players to go, oh, damn, okay. Now everybody's available.
Right. Exactly.
And now there's a guy in Josh Norris. Should he stay healthy, Buffalo has their number one center. Like a true number one. Cousins had that potential. And then 2 years ago, he got his ass whooped in a fight and has never been the same. And we're seeing it now. We saw the game before he got traded. One of his co-captains or alternate captains was getting just pummeled. His captain was getting pummeled. Dahlin was getting mauled by 4 people, and you see Cousins gliding in, just staring. Yeah, not doing a thing. The next day he's gone.
Yeah, like I had suggested at the trade deadline that I know Ottawa made the move, but I had suggested, hey, send him to New Jersey. Him and I don't know, Bo Byram or Matthias Samuelsson, one of those guys for Dawson Mercer and, Simone Nemec, and let's reset some pieces in certain places, because that's a wake-up call. Like, hockey trades are a wake-up call to teams. Yep. But while St. Louis threatened to trade anybody, the prices were so ridiculously high that no one was going to offer anything. But Buffalo was like, you know what? We're going to send a message, whether people agree with it or not. And then Buffalo did what Buffalo did at the end of the regular season. And, it still makes the playoffs. But look, I think
we got to get something.
Right. They got to get their offseason right. And they got to come out of the gates the right way. And they got to get a leader in there. And they got to get guys that want to play there and guys that want to stay there.
Yeah, they got to do that. And you talked about it earlier with Detroit. You eventually have to bring up the young guys from the AHL. Rochester, they're about to start their playoff run again. They're coming off a conference final run. They have a lot of great talent. We saw what Yuri Kulik did in Buffalo as a rookie, where even Lindy moved him from wing to center, and Kulik naturally fits to the point. They're looking like Tage is no longer a center, and they're going to have their expectation seems to be Norris and Kulik are their number 1 and 2 centers, and then Ryan McLeod, who so many people on social media were throwing away of I can't believe you trade Matt Savoy for Ryan McLeod. This is Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg. Bite me.
Yeah.
McLeod, granted he's an RFA, but he fit in Lindy's system perfectly.
Yeah.
You obviously know Lindy. I know Lindy. He was here for 97 years.
I didn't agree with that hiring, by the way. I didn't like it. I didn't think it made sense. I didn't think it made sense. Not to when it's only a 2-year contract thing, it doesn't make sense to me. What is he gonna do?
It was let's get him here and get ready for Seth Appert to be the man in waiting. We'll see what happens with that, because again, Seth Appert, he led Rochester on that run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year in the Calder playoffs. He was largely in control of the Sabres power play, and it was awful.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Give him a little bit of a leeway, because at the end of the day, the assistant coach in charge of the power play isn't installing his power play. He's coaching up the power play the head coach wants him to coach up.
Yep.
So we don't know, but that's what it feels like. It feels like we're literally getting into a situation where we know Lindy's coming in next year, and then in 2 years it's Seth Appert. But yeah, Buffalo, they sent somebody out. Detroit might be in that position where they have to this summer send somebody out.
I got a question for you with you being in Buffalo. I just want to ask this. Do you believe that
Joe Hendry? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I believe in Joe Hendry too. So, and then he may just appear. Who knows? I got one more thing before we wrap up here. Do you think, or do you believe that Kevin Adams needs someone above him as the president of hockey operations?
Kevin Adams is about to become the president of hockey operations.
Oh God,
he is going. Granted, this is if Elliot Friedman's claims of him moving up and then them bringing in a GM. Adams is going to be that guy, because I don't think they want to pay him to go away. Kind of like the whole Ralph Francis thing.
Yeah, again, Seattle is Buffalo. Buffalo is Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, but I do think they need somebody above them. I think whoever's in charge, Buffalo ownership, Pegula needs a true hockey guy. And what I think happened, they tried that a decade ago with Pat LaFontaine. And I can't wait for one day for that full story to come out.
Yeah, I want to know about that story.
Because LaFontaine just up and went, now I'm out within months.
Yeah.
Because I bet Pegula did not like having somebody fighting against him at all.
Yeah.
No, this is how it needs to be done. You don't know hockey. Shut up. And he didn't like it.
That's why the Bills are so good, right?
Yeah, they got people. Pegula, I mean, for a while, Kim kind of ran things before she had her health issues.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but the Bills also lucked into Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's true. That's fair.
Which masks everything.
Yeah,
you take
but
Josh
still,
Allen out of that organization. The Bills aren't building a new stadium.
But how many first-round picks did Buffalo Sabres get?
92.
Right. So, I mean, like, and
Yeah.
top picks like Darlene Power, like, you got players there. Like, this team should be good. And the fact of the matter is James Reimer's the guy that's carrying you on this winning streak. That's a problem.
Yeah, UPL, that's my biggest thing with Kevin Adams. He gave UPL a $525 deal.
Yeah.
After one okay season. Levi is still the guy in waiting.
Right, but he needs to develop.
Levi in Rochester this year, them not touching him once they sent him down for the final time was the best thing that happened, because this dude, he played a full year in Rochester. He's MVP of the AHL.
That's good.
Like,
you need that.
He has played dominant. If Rochester makes another run like last year in the Calder Cup playoffs, Devin Levi is the reason. He has dominated to the point, and he's even said in interviews, this is where I needed to be for my development, and I've never felt better.
Well, we saw with Dustin Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joey DeCord. Like, that's just two guys I just named that are NHL goaltenders.
I'll say it too, and this will compare, and people have done it a lot, but what I'm seeing with Devin Levi is similar to what we saw with Ryan Miller with the Sabres. Ryan Miller's first couple years in Buffalo were problematic. You're like, holy crap, he's supposed to be the guy that's going to be the next Hasek, like take over for Hasek after the Biron stopgap. What? They got lucky, that Buffalo team, for the 04-05 lockout, because they all played in Rochester. Ryan Miller, Jason Pominville, Thomas Vanek, Derek Roy, Paul Gostad, all of these guys that became that core of those 2 years.
Yes.
But who benefited the most from it was Ryan Miller. He comes back, and then he's on this run to the point now he gets his jersey retired in Buffalo. Like,
great goalie, by the way. Great goalie,
American
by the way.
goalies of all time. Without that run in Rochester, I don't think this happens. And I think that's what we're seeing with Devin Levi, where he's getting this run in the AHL next year. And you and I both know, like, goalies just take a little while longer.
Long time. And he had that.
Vasilevsky took forever.
Right, but then when Vasilevsky came in 2015 and he played in the final, like, he was a monster. Like, you could tell then. But even with Levi, when towards the end of the season when he came in, he's like, oh, he looks great. I'm like, yeah, but it's a couple games. Like, what is he going to do full season? He needed to develop. It's like Jacob Fowler in Montreal. Like, there's a list of guys we could go on in hours and talk about guys as the goalies that could need to develop. You're not going to be Marty Bergeron come in. You're not going to be Dominic Hasek or Patrick Waugh or guys like that. Like, certain goalies need to develop. Levi needs to develop, and I think he's the future for the Buffalo Sabres, so hopefully they can get it around. Look, I'm a very pessimistic guy when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres. I unfortunately predicted at the beginning of the year that 15 years is coming next year. I really hope I'm wrong, because I really love Buffalo Sabres and the fans up there, and I want them to be back in the playoffs. I just don't see it.
Well, knowing how your prediction went with Montreal, I can say probably going to be ending the drought next year then.
Yeah.
But just like to say, we had that conversation on Twitter. I wrote the article saying Montreal is a playoff team this year. And you're like, one more year.
One more
Wrong.
year. Well, I said they were going to play meaningful games this year. I didn't think they were going to make the playoff. Look, I'm going to be honest. I didn't think they would make the playoffs. Like, I'm going to be honest because the Rangers were bad. Like, Columbus almost pulled the miracle off.
They took advantage of a really weak bottom of the East. Would they have done it without, the greatest rookie defenseman in Montreal history? No. But sometimes you just hit that. Lane Hudson just you strike that lightning, and my God, he's incredible. And it was fun he was very fun to watch. And Montreal's got something special with him.
Yep.
Something really, really special with him, and good. Patrick Laine, for the most part, seems like he found himself, though he still makes the Laine gaffes, like the overtime goal last night.
Well, Demidov was out there too, so both guys are responsible for that. Not Lane Hudson. Sorry, Mark Messier.
I know. I'm not going to give too much on Demidov because rookie in the moment.
Yeah, but still,
Laine, decade veteran.
Yeah, you know better. That puck has to get out of the zone.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like I want to, after 14 years, it's so hard to be optimistic about the Sabres.
Yeah.
But I want to be because of what I saw. Tage, something flipped with him. Man, is he a superstar.
Oh, he's an unbelievable
I feel
superstar.
so bad that you can be, third or fourth in the league in goals, not make the playoffs. The Sabres offensively, everybody's like, they need to bring in some more scoring. No, they don't. The Sabres offensively can be a juggernaut. What they need is to not give up 4 goals a game.
Right.
And that starts, obviously, the blue line. But they had guys like they had 6 players with 20 or more goals, 2 players 35 plus. They have ridiculous offensive output.
Right.
Defense and goaltending. They're Edmonton, just without the Connor McDavid.
Right. And they had it if they didn't screw it up. And well, we've gone over that story, but
yeah,
we've gone over a lot today, longer than we planned. But it was great to have you back. Full Press NHL Podcast. Mike Straw in the house. We need to do this more with the Stanley Cup playoffs rolling on because the chemistry is there. It has never left. The reunion tour is back and better than ever. Catch it everywhere, up on iTunes, Spotify, up on YouTube. Full Press NHL Podcast, weekly show. Here you go, Jim Biringer, Mike Straw, back and rolling. Mike, thank you again, man.
I appreciate it, Jim. Dude, I know we went long, but this is what happens when you and I talk hockey.
It is. It's the best thing going on the internet, and you all should follow us because we know what we're talking about.
Never. We never know anything.
I know, right? We don't, but we do. But guys, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, up on YouTube, follow along, join the fun, join the conversation. Take care. We'll be back again real soon.